Hey, Adam.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Oh,
Man,
Oh,
it's
no.
very
no. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. There's Adam.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
That's good.
Hey.
It wouldn't be a Zoom call without starting off going, huh? Wait, hold on a second. Are you muted?
What? Are you talking? Am I muted?
No,
Yeah.
you're muted. God, what a good voice you have.
Adam.
You guys have such a wonderful chat. These emojis.
I know.
It's very vibey in here.
It is very
I'm pleased with
vibey.
this.
You're pleased with this? Good.
Yay.
I think
Very good.
we have some of my favorite people on the entire internet here with us today. So a big thank you to everybody who joined us live. And if you're watching the VOD later, thank you for tuning in. And Adam, thank you for sharing your time with us today, dude.
Yeah.
No, thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, man,
This is great.
it's been
good to see you guys anyway. And then with the addition of the chat.
Yeah, right.
Or morning as it is for you, right? It's 10:30.
It's morning for us.
It's
and
11:18 actually.
11:18.
Yeah, I see the question in chat in all caps with 2 question marks. British? Is he British?
I am guilty as charged.
Oh man! All right, we're gonna have to end the stream. No,
don't hold it. I can't help it. I was born this way.
He's got that cheeky, self-deprecating humor that I adore. And Adam, how is it for you right now? I mean, what's going on? Like, have you ever done a Twitch stream?
Have I done it? I did. We did do some Twitch promoting.
Okay.
This is already the best Twitch stream I've ever been on.
Oh, well, thank you for saying so, dude.
It's not close. Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of awesome Brits in the chat. A lot of our friends on stream are in the UK. Can we do this? This is one of my favorite things. Can you all share with Adam where you're tuning in from around the world? Will you type into the chat where you're tuning in?
Galaxy B97. Hi, I am Brit. I am Brit.
Yep.
And Black Misha says, I love the British accent.
Yeah,
you have
me
good
too.
Taste.
Good taste. Some of the best writers are British, it turns out. The
Shakespeare
Bard
wasn't bad. Slightly overrated, but not bad.
Well, you know, as Marcus, we just decided to read a book to help 100% that scene.
Macbeth, I think.
And we read Macbeth and had a little moment with Carl talking about human emotions being so complicated to understand. And we'd love to talk to you more about all the influences that went into making Detroit Become Human. But it looks like we have friends from literally everywhere. We got some Scotland friends.
You have a very eclectic chat.
Right?
You have the United Nations in here.
Yeah,
this is great,
and it might be actually the most peaceful representation of the world that there is. I think we have more people from around the world that get along with each other here on this stream than anywhere else.
So XJX said Essex.
Oh, very specific.
That's not a country, but do you mean Essex, England, or do you mean Essex, the States?
They must mean
England.
They must mean England.
Nobody
right?
type your exact address. Nobody dox yourself in the chat. Someone's like, I live in 31702.
The country's fine.
Isn't that amazing? Yes, Essex, England. Nice, nice. Well, we would love to come and see you sometime in person. It's been too long since you've had an IRL hangout, but this will have to do for the time being, you know?
It was pre-pandemic. We last saw each other in person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can I share, Adam, that just before the stream began, you said, hold on a second, I gotta go take care of my dog. It looks like my dog might be chewing on the modem.
Network cable.
Chewing on the
network cable. Well, he has a good instinct for what not to chew.
Well, we like dogs here. What's your dog's name?
Fenrir.
Oh, Fenrir. That sounds
Fenrir.
Familiar. So you're not just a writer, you're a writer and a gamer.
Yeah, well, I like, so when we named him, he's a German Shepherd. He's turned out more Fenrir-esque than we thought he would be. So he's a puppy, but he's quite wild. But I too like dogs. So what can I say? If I look cold, it's because I am cold. The heating in my office isn't working today.
Oh no.
Oh, you need blankets.
You're feeling like
Alice.
You're feeling like Alice.
I need to find shelter. Very cold.
They don't have sweaters in England? I thought you all wore sweaters. I just
thought it would be too English to show up in a sweater. You know what I mean? It would just be so cliche.
Just like eating fish and chips, wearing a sweater, and
the pipe just becomes ridiculous. You know?
Well, dude, I appreciate you being here as cold as though you may be. Do you don't have like a module kind of thing that you're not an Android? You can't just turn that on and off?
There were jokes when we were doing the media tour that I was an Android because I have this I'm not going to name her, but I remember her. This Spanish journalist said you have a very level voice. Like it doesn't go up and down very much, doesn't show much emotion.
You're not easily shooketh.
Are you an Android?
Well, are you?
I couldn't answer. I mean, if I said no, that's what an Android would say, right?
Yeah, so, I know exactly, and I noticed
no safe answer.
We see the right side of your temple, and we see no LED, but maybe you picked it out.
Yeah, you could have.
Okay, or I reversed the image.
Oh,
I could have flipped it. It could be on this side.
No, because what you don't know is the left side of his face is just horribly scarred by acid or something like that.
No.
Isn't it?
There is no left side.
There is. He's
just a gap.
Harvey Dent.
It's not been rendered. Yeah, it's not been rendered in yet. It's too laggy.
Well, if you are an Android, that means you must be a deviant Android.
Because I feel emotion.
Yes.
Yeah. And not because I'm a crazed killer.
No. Okay, I think I'm running off. We should stick to the script.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Excuse me, that's my fault. I've also enjoyed this chat. Your chat is so warm and friendly. I love it.
That's what
everybody's saying great stuff in here.
That's what we love about them.
I should come on Twitch more often. But I don't think everybody's Twitch chats are like this.
No,
I think this is your community specifically, isn't it?
I think it's nice of you to give voice to that. I do definitely feel that way. I've been on other streams where the chat is moving as fast and it's nothing but ligma and like, you know, stupid.
Although,
stupid
having said that,
Fenrir, stop it.
No, Sangster is my husband. I see you. I see you in the chat. Am I the only one seeing that he kind of looks like Elijah? I assume you mean Kamsky.
Oh.
Elijah Kamsky is supposed to be like 40 years old. Thanks very much.
Yeah, and Adam is 18. He's just been working in the gaming industry, so he's going great.
I've just been aged.
Oh, no. Well, Adam, you and I and Amelia, we got to meet over a decade ago. We met in the year 2014.
God,
do you believe that to be the truth? Is that am I remembering?
2015?
No, it was 2014 because I worked on the game. It was 4 years after I started working that the game came out, which was 2018. So it's been a decade, my dude.
Yeah, I still remember the first time we saw your audition tape. And the reaction like quite a few of us had to it, because if I remember correctly, you may have done something from the bridge.
Yeah, that was also I'm whatever you want me to be. It was the end, towards the end of the scene with what happens to androids after they die, that bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's such a hard scene to do because he's a hard character to play, as I've said to you many times off stream. So for you to do what you did with him was amazing. But he had to, at that point, you still had to play it down the line. Like you could be a machine, you might not be a machine.
Right.
If you are deviant, you're not really sure that you're deviant, but you kind of suspect you might be, but you'd be repressing it. But then you might also not be. And how do you, we saw loads of tapes, and I was saying to David, you can't really play this scene. It's too complicated. Like there's too much nuance in it. And then your tape came up. And I think that was 2014. I think it was
like the end, maybe the end of 2014, and then we started filming at the start of 15. Maybe we did, the hostage negotiation scene was the first scene we filmed.
That was in 15 for sure.
Yeah, which was on March 17th, 2015, because it was my birthday. Okay. I remember being there on my birthday and filming the rooftop negotiation scene. And so Adam was there on set with us every day that we were recording. You and Benjamin was there for every day, the shooting director as well. Benjamin Deibling, who's often pops in and out of our chat and stuff. And then there's like a team behind the curtain of everybody on their computers with the prop department and the set and all of the computers to take in all of the information. But you guys kind of had front row seats in the volume to sit there. And it was the really cool experience because as an actor, often the writer and the actor are separated.
Yeah.
The writer does their thing and then they put it in the actor's hands and then the actors start working on it. Give us some context. Before you worked on Detroit Become Human, what were you writing? What was your background before video games or before Detroit?
Right. So my background was TV. So the for people in the chat who are interested may not know, in movies, I think it's fair to say even now, certainly when I was in TV, in movies the director was king.
Mm,
So the script was like a working document, and as you said, actors probably won't even meet writers because the script's been locked before you've started filming.
right.
And if the director wants to change things or alter things, they'll talk to the actors and vice versa, and the writer may not even be there. In
Mm,
TV, it's a bit different because the writers tend to stay on the show and the directors tend to come in and out for episodes.
Yeah.
right.
So when I arrived at Quantic, David's assumption was we would lock the script and then that would be the end of it. But where I had come from in TV, you try and work with the actor more.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
if the actor has a question, as you guys, I think good actors always will. Good actors always want to know, why am I saying this? You know, what are we driving at?
Right. And we were always given just pretty much the scenes we were in. Like just for context for everybody on the stream, I never read a scene that Marcus was in. I never read a scene of Kara's script. I never read anything that was not a scene that Connor was physically in that scene. I didn't get the script for.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're trying to think as a good performer, you're trying to think about the audience and how they're going to take this performance, but you're missing all this key information.
Right.
Mm.
If somebody's not there to give you any of it, you have to just kind of make a guess, which isn't great fun, I don't think. But also, I think good actors will be thinking about the part more than you as the writer will. Right? So you're trying to write all these different characters and you're trying to make the story work big picture, but somebody's got one part, like you did with Connor.
Right.
They're thinking about where Connor is in his journey of psychological development, emotional development. And there were many times where you said, listen, Connor wouldn't say this here, he'd say that there, or why would Connor do this? Wouldn't it occur to him to do that?
Right.
And that you miss all that if the writer's not there. If there's no writer there, you can't deal with any of that. And some of the coolest stuff on Detroit was stuff that you and Ben came up with on set, or you and Clancy, the dynamic you had with Clancy Brown. And it's easier if the writer's there to agree, okay, we're just going to change this.
Sure.
Whereas when there's no
Or
writing, you don't know what you
make
can
a
change.
part of the change, but that still holds the continuity to what you need to have happen in the next scene, or the stuff that had happened before. Like I remember you guys working a little bit like how the GM in a Dungeons and Dragons game works. You know, where you're Benjamin would be giving us the kind of lay of the physical space, you know, so that we could see, you know, the concept art, but more in a 3-dimensional blocking capacity, and then we'd be talking about you know, the moment that immediately preceded that just wasn't in the script. But as an actor, you need to know, where am I coming from? What has just happened before this? Whether you're standing in the elevator filing a report, blinking your eyes, or if you're like running into the chase,
The cornfield.
the cornfield.
Yeah, no, and indeed, and also in the case of Connor especially, because he speaks in such an unnatural way early on. The question often is like, why do I need to say it in this way rather than in this way? Or if I change this, will it break anything versus changing that?
Right.
And because I don't know how you remembered it, the huge blocks of text Connor speaks in. You had a system, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
You had
sir.
like a triangle, square, circle, star, notepad system.
I did. I had. I noticed that for Connor, there were, interesting that you bring this up, because annotating the script, the one big difference about working on a game to a film and TV thing is that, I mean, Amelia's probably, just as a quick aside before I forget, Adam, do you have a favorite like TV project that you worked on, just for people who are like curious if they want to go dig up a past episode you worked on? Like, what was your favorite show you were a writer for before?
It's hard because I jumped around a lot at the BBC and all kinds of shows. I worked on a show called Robin Hood, which was about Robin Hood. I would encourage people to check that out because it kind of died a death, but it was quite good. It was trying to do Robin Hood in a slightly Smallville-esque way. Right? It was almost like, yeah, which is not like, to be honest, it didn't suit me particularly as a writer, but I liked this idea of trying to update folkloric stuff with modern relationship soap opera things. So yeah, maybe that.
I see some people in chat saying that they loved that show. So
Okay, I'm glad some people. I hope we're talking about the same one, because there's probably been a better American one. That would be my guess.
BBC.
No, Sherwood Forest is absolutely not in Michigan. The wasn't there another show that you did that was the espionage one? Was it there's a spy, or like am I remembering correctly, Blacklist or X-Files or what the
No, I did
what was the one with the woman who had like
on Orphan Black?
Orphan Black, that's the one. Yes, I remember that one was
yeah, which did well. That was like a Canadian British tie-up.
Cool. Very cool.
But yeah, not to be honest, games were so much more fun.
Yeah.
Writing for games.
So
you get sorry, go ahead, mate.
No, you. You're the guest.
No,
everybody on this stream has heard me talk enough for the rest of their lives.
If you let me talk, I won't stop. It was as you were about to go into, I think, remembering the different branches.
Yeah.
Writing those, because when you write for TV, there's an argument in the writing room about what should happen. So this writer says, hey, the character at this point, he would be brave and he would stand up to his nemesis. And another writer says, no, didn't you read the last scene? He's a coward. He wouldn't stand up to. And that whole conversation gets edited out for the audience, and you just pick something and show it to them.
Right.
And with a game, you get to ask the audience, what would the character do? See, there's this, as a writer, you get to explore a lot more of the character and a lot more of the psyche of what would the character do in various situations.
Yeah.
How would the character get hit? Yeah. Which I know you both understand perfectly as performers, but it from a writing standpoint, it's a lot more interesting because you get to do a lot of what ifs.
Yeah.
So would it be a fair assertion to say, as forgive us gamers, that if film
you're forgiven.
If film the director is king and in TV the writer is king, then you have to be a writer in a video game in a medium where the player is king? I mean,
That's very deep.
Is that do we pass the reins? Like, is it really truly because ultimately the player is writing the story in Detroit, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with you. I mean, I think if you're doing your job well as an interactive writer, you want the player to feel like they own the story.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, in a TV show or a movie, you want the audience to feel that they are somehow in the world that you're showing them on screen. You want to draw them in. In a game, you can do that even more so because they are controlling the character.
Right.
You want people to feel that you want them to identify with the character and feel stakes and consequences for what happens to the character.
Right.
Well, in a game, both those things are literally true. You are the character. You are making the decisions. If you let the audience make the important decisions. But that's where I think you undergo a bit of ego death. Because in TV or movies, you get to decide this is what happened.
Yeah.
Decide what's canon. And if you have that impulse where you think you should decide what happens in the story, then I could see games being challenging. But if you like the idea of the audience gets to own it and your job is to present a kind of a space for them to walk around in, I find that a lot more fun. So yeah, I think as you say, the player is king. I like that.
Dude.
I should have thought of saying that myself.
Also, I mean, the death of the ego is such a high goal to have, that like maybe only a self-deprecating Brit like yourself could provide that.
Luckily, I have no ego. Yeah, I underwent ego death at public school, so I was in good shape.
Well, hey, Amelia, I have a question for you about the difference between, because Amelia has done, I mean, Adam, you've worked a lot in TV, but I really believe that Amelia has probably got the TV resume of the three of us.
Yeah.
How long on average between when you were given the script for a True Blood episode or Blue Bloods or something, and then when you actually went to film it?
Very short amount of time. Usually it was within like, well, True Blood was a little bit different. I feel like that kind of lived in its own
HBO world, right?
Yeah, HBO.
We had premium show.
Yeah, and also the amount of time that we got to spend on each episode was like basically a month. Where for a regular TV show, you shoot it in like 7 days, maybe 10 days. So we just really got to like be languid about it. But for a more a normal TV show,
like episodic,
yeah,
short,
yeah,
like a guest star on a spot.
get it like a couple days before. Sometimes even that same day, they're giving complete rewrites. I remember on Scream, we would get so many rewrites like the day of, like I'm walking to set and they're like, okay, here's the scene for today. Actually, you get to set, here's the scene for today. Actually, here's the scene for today. So I'm like trying to learn all of this stuff.
And specifically on Scream, they were switching stuff. The writers knew things that you as the actors didn't know.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to spoil anything about MTV Scream, but like in the last couple episodes, things are very different. And talking to Amelia on the phone, this was not the character she was under the impression she was playing the whole time.
No.
So by the end of the thing, they were like, oh yeah, by the way, here's some very important information. And she's like, oh my God.
So I'd be interested to hear if this is true with True Blood, because you would know, obviously. I've heard rumors of what it's like doing an HBO show, that it's a different world and everything. How many you were describing, you didn't get much time in a traditional TV show, which I think actors don't. But the volume of shooting you do in a day on a traditional TV show, you're standing around for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
Right? What was it like with HBO? Was the filming pace the same, or was it even slower? Or were you just spending a long time exploring?
We got to really play with the scene. And
Okay.
it wasn't as fast paced. Like for example, working on Criminal Minds, we would do just like a couple takes of each angle. And so we'd be having coverage like
your pickup, my pickup, your coverage, my coverage.
Just
next.
moving really fast. And then as soon as we got something that the director was like, yep, got it, we're moving on. With True Blood, we really got to like play with it and really just take our time. So it felt more like doing a movie. We would also have rehearsals in a longer way, because usually on other TV shows, the rehearsal is just the blocking for camera. So you maybe will get to run through it once, maybe twice, but we got to really take our time with True Blood,
Well,
which was
Benjamin Diebling calls a mechanical take.
Yes, the mechanical take. And we did get some
blocking.
Good blocking rehearsal and stuff for Detroit Become Human. And I remember the blocking being really important, especially with the android thing, where I felt in the beginning scenes, especially like being kind of obsessed with where I needed to be on the ground, because you think about just how an android how would you program a robot to move? So it was always about making like the most efficient maneuver. Like nothing was done in an arc,
Nothing wasted.
Yeah, exactly. Like high efficiency. And I just wanted to bring up because you brought up the triangle, circle, X, and square script annotations and stuff. The reason why I mentioned that is that like in the experience of Detroit, we worked on that game together for like 4 years, but it would be in like a week or two increments at a time. And then it would just go dark. I'd hear nothing from anybody. And then 6 months later, they'd send me this like, here's the next 300 pages or whatever. So, and then I'd sit there and I did have time. I had like maybe 2 months where I had the script and I was able to make these markings and kind of, like really work on it so that when I showed up on set and everyone was like, oh my God, this American, he works so hard. And they're like drinking red wine, and I'm like, no, I've just been like obsessed about this for 2 months and I'm so ready, like put me in.
It's just you guys are so slow. Yeah.
But
No, but you're downplaying it. I mean, there were scenes where for anyone in the chat who may not know, because Brian was playing a playable character, he had to do all the versions of a dialogue at once, right? So he's looking at Hank, and Hank says, what do you think happens to deviants when they die? And there's 4 choices, and Brian has to do them one after the other. Bang, bang, bang.
Right.
Often in one take, often with 4 different emotional intonations.
Right.
So it's not just remembering 4, and the way Connor speaks, he's very verbose.
Right.
I mean, I actually think he's not verbose. He's very exact.
Exact,
He says
yes.
things as he means them. So to remember 4 blocks of text with 4 emotional intonations, then have Clancy say like 2 words back to you, like you said, "Shut up, Andrew."
Yeah,
And then you have to do another 4 blocks. I did doing it again and again and again, and I honestly couldn't believe you. The first time when we did the hostage with you, I remember looking at the script with David and being like, "There's no way he's gonna." There were times when there was a whole sheet of A4 of 4 dialogue options. And I was like, no actor can stand there and remember all that without asking for a line halfway through. But you did. So yeah,
Well,
I'm glad you had the time to remember it, but you must have a good memory for
I,
lines.
I did 10 years ago.
No,
When
you
you were
do.
young and fresh, you did, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna give some credit to Amelia because Amelia ran that stuff with me from the
Oh God.
audition
You
and
must have been
all of
sick
the
of it,
signs.
Amelia.
Well, and all of the stuff, and that's ultimately how it came to be that Amelia was playing the Tracys. I remember on the set where we went to go do this, we were filming the scene for the eating club, and they were like, because of scheduling, we don't have our actor for Tracy, and so we're not going to be able to do this, but it was supposed to be like the last time that I was there in Paris to do it, and so it was basically like, am I gonna have to do this scene with just someone reading the lines off set, or am I gonna
Probably
get
a French production guy
yeah, exactly. Like,
with a beard. Yeah.
am I gonna be doing this high emotional stakes scene with like a non-Tracy with just like some dude? Shout out to the dudes, by the way. Shout out to the production team and the prop department and the set guys and all that stuff. But like actors, they were not. And so I remember saying to David, Amelia is here with me in Paris. We have plans to go. Amelia didn't know that I had plans to propose, but we were going to go to Versailles and stuff. But I was like, Amelia is like at the hotel right now, and she's been running these lines with me for the last 2 months in preparation. Like, she's probably already off book. And then Amelia, you came in and tell about that.
Yeah, I remember I auditioned. You were there. You were there.
That's right. Yeah, you came.
Sorry, go ahead, Amelia.
Yeah. No, I'm actually curious from your point of view.
What happened that day, Adam?
Yeah.
So I won't talk about who was going to be the blue-haired Tracy, but as you say, there was a scheduling thing. I just remember thinking how lucky we were, because generally in those situations, if someone fills in, it's like not someone you would have cast necessarily. Whereas we absolutely would have cast you for sure. I mean, the stuff you'd done before, the stuff you did on the day, and the one like question mark I had was because I don't at that point you hadn't done much performance capture, if I remember correctly.
I had done performance capture with Quantum Break.
Quantum Break, and it wasn't that fated seashell.
It was
facial.
We did some with the big helmet, but most of it was actually just facial capture.
Yeah,
where we were not moving our bodies; it was just all about the face, like so.
The visage. Yeah, and I remember thinking like it's quite a hard role to do for your first full performance capture, because the physicality of it was important. Like as you remember better than I do, Connor takes your arm, he doesn't take your arm, you move, you wake up, there's resuscitation, there's a lot of up and down, and it all has to be very exact.
Yeah.
And you hadn't arrived with the intention of performing that role. You'd been asked to fill in. And I remember saying to Ben, like, we better be very, very like nice and understanding if she has any problems, because she's doing us this huge favor. And then you nailed the first take. And there was just silence after you'd finished, like, oh wow. So we got really lucky on that project a few times, and that was one of the times. And obviously the chemistry between
not
you
as
two
lucky as me, dude.
Yeah, indeed. The chemistry between you two was just built in, right? Like it made there's a real, I think you can still see it in the game. There's this very intense, there's this crackle between Connor and the blue-haired Tracy.
Yeah. Well, and that's a major moment for Connor to deviate. I mean, he's not following instructions. If he lets them go, the deviant hunter who lets the prey escape, the suspect is at large, but because of his choice to be empathetic, Amelia and I have had the privilege, we met working on a film called Commencement. I got to be her blood prostitute on True Blood, where she drank my blood, and all I said was, whatever I did, please don't kill me. We've worked together. We got to work together on Detroit Become Human. And Adam, I'm just thinking, like, should we all work together again soon? Would this be a good idea, a good moment to talk about?
Beautiful segue.
Yeah.
Yes. What a beautiful segue, Brian. So, as Brian may have alluded to, and there's been a tiny bit of media about it, I have left Quantic and started a new studio. It's called Republic Games. We're working on a new unannounced title. There'll be a lot more news about the title, the game we're working on in the next couple of weeks. But ever since Detroit, I've wanted to work with you guys again. And I'm very much hoping you'll join me with some work on this new game. We've talked about it.
Adam, we accept. Would it be dramatically appropriate for all three of us to put our hands in and say "Go team"? Three,
go
two, go team!
Oh. I preempted.
It's okay. Ready? One more time. 3, 2, 1. Go team!
Go team!
And now you're late. Okay, come one more time. Third time's a charm.
This is starting to turn into that movie about the drummer, Whiplash.
Hey, Whiplash. Yeah. Oh, one. Are you early or are you late?
I don't know.
All right, everybody in chat's gonna join us. 3, 2, 1. Press X to go team. 3, 2, 1. Go team!
Go team!
Nailed it. Perfect. Okay,
we got it.
Adam, if people want to know more about Republic Games and they want to know more about the game that you're making and that all three of us are going to be collaborating on together, I suggest they check you out. Following you on Twitter would be the best place to do that right now. On X, we got !Adam in the chat. We'll take you to your X account, and you're going to be making an announcement very, very soon.
Yes, although our website is up.
Oh,
and you can sign up to our mailing list.
What's I want to be the first one on the mailing list. What's the website?
Okay, so I'm going to put it in our chat first so that you can sign up first and then you can give it to everybody else.
Oh, okay.
You can be named number. No, it's republicgames.co.uk.
Okay, here. You're going to
republicgames.co.uk.
Awesome.
At the moment, it's just a splash page with a sign up thing. But if everybody signs up, you'll get a lot more news about what we're making.
Amazing.
In the next couple of weeks.
Amazing. I'm dropping this into the chat right now. I'm going to pin it at the top of the thing. Get yourself on this mailing list, team, because, Adam, there are, certain timeline obligations that Adam has to when he can share certain information. Yep. But we can say with good confidence that very soon, in the next couple of weeks, if you're on that mailing list, you're going to be the first people to know about Adam's game, what Republic Game is up to, and also basically a little bit more of a teaser of the project that we're all concocting for you. Adam, can you say, I know you can't say much about the game at this point, but can you share, if people who are here on this stream love a narrative game and a branching narrative game and a game where the characters and their choices really matter, like, promise me you're not building like a deck building game, you're not building like a roller coaster sim game. What can you give us anything about similarities to past experience?
Yeah, so I can say for certain that there's going to be a heavy narrative element.
Okay.
Interactive narrative element. I can't exactly reveal the genre yet. That's one of the things that's tied up. What I will say is I have always wanted to do the story mode. You were joking about making a deck builder. I've always wanted to do the story mode for like a sports game. That's not what we're making. Okay. But I've always thought that's one of the best jobs in games.
I'm not the best person to collaborate with on a sports game. I can't catch anything you throw at me.
When you play like a boxing game or a tennis game, there's a story mode.
Okay.
I've always wondered who writes those. But no, yes, the thing we're working on is going to have a strong narrative element, interactive narrative element.
I love it.
Stay tuned for more. I mean, the form on the website is being flooded.
Good.
So thank you, everybody.
Okay, well,
we brought it to this community first.
Yes, so you guys are the first people in the world who are on this mailing list right now. You're going to be you are the interior core crew of what will be the beginning of the Republic Games fandom, which I'm sure is about to explode in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, we may get some coverage with what we have to say in the next couple of weeks. A couple of people have asked in the chat, I'm sorry their names went too fast, whether we're hiring or not. We are hiring.
Okay, so we could all work together, because I know we have some very talented people here.
We do.
I have heard that you've got some very good people in this chat.
So they should just keep an eye out for the press release, or how do they get involved when it comes to the building out of the studio? Because we're going to need a whole team to make a game like this.
Yeah, if they sign up to the mailing list, we'll send out a hiring link so people can send through their stuff. My wife Sophie is founded the studio with me, and between her and I, we'll make sure we look at everything that that comes in. She does a
Adam,
lot of the artistic
are you
stuff.
really telling all the people here on Dechart Games who love a couple that works together that you and your
That
wife are working
that's
together? And
true.
you
Husband
found
and
it?
wife team. That's true. But as you guys know,
It's a
husband and
double
wife
date,
team.
dude.
You want to be a power couple. That's the secret to success. That's the way to get it done, I think.
That's amazing. I did see the quick question in the chat. Is everybody that works at Republic Games based in the UK with you, or are you going to be hiring people working around the world?
Yeah, so we are almost entirely remote
Wonderful.
and very international.
Amazing. Well, this
Very
community is
international.
entirely international and very remote. So
yeah, I am myself remote. So I think it's only fair that others should be
beautiful.
too.
Oh
I mean,
my
if you're
God.
developing a game,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there are certain circumstances, like we were talking about filming, where you want to be physically together.
Right.
You couldn't really film a game remotely.
It would be hard.
Yeah.
They've done it though. They've done it.
And
Yeah,
bits
I
and
was
pieces.
just thinking it has been done a few times. Yeah. Well, I know, as you guys would probably know better than me, there are some fairly big time actors who have a camera in their basement and they just green screen all their close ups now.
Wow.
Oh my God.
You know, they go downstairs in their pajamas and say, "Get out of here." Then they go back upstairs and there's $20 million. Thanks very much.
Wow. Adam, I am really excited. I know that people will be getting a lot more information very soon by signing up on your mailing list, which, by the way, is pinned at the top of our chat. Please get on there.
Thank you so much for doing that.
Of course, should we, to be safe about what we share on time, should we move to this incredibly long list of questions about Detroit Become Human?
Yes, let's please do that, because I've been wanting to catch questions as they go, but your chat
our
is so
mods
active.
have got it. We got the best mods in the business.
Okay, you got the dream team working there.
Yeah. So
thank you, mods.
Thank you, mods. Thank you, mods.
Thank you.
Amelia, hit him with some cues.
All right. Well, let's start at the beginning. Toro Mochi asks, when and how did you start writing the story?
So when I arrived at Quantic after David had already started the story. So when I arrived, he had an initial bit of it. As you said earlier, Brian, that was in 2014.
Right.
For me, the character I worked on most was Connor, which is one of the reasons I think we became so close. And Connor for me became about, we were reading a lot of books on AI and robotics and technology, and the thing that I had always been a big Star Trek fan, so there was the data,
of course,
angle, people who know data, but I'd also always been interested in computers. Got my first computer when I was very young, and it had always intrigued me the way people program computers to sound friendly. Like they say,
"Are you still there?"
Yeah. Like I used to have, I had this old DOS machine. That's how old I am. So it wasn't even like, it was something most of your chat wouldn't even recognize as a computer. And it had no personality. It would say like execute command, cancel command, confirmed, and then moved over to Windows and the more retail stuff. And it was like, bing, bang, bang, bang.
Sure.
Hi, I'll be ready in a second, right? And they had programmed this personality into this machine.
Yeah.
And it was cute to me that it was trying to be human. If it had actually succeeded and been convincingly human, that would have been scary. But the gap between what it wants to be and what it's managing to be, it was in that gap that you actually found something sweet. You could sort of, it's like a reverse uncanny valley.
Yeah, sure.
And so with all that, that was what when we started talking about having a detective character, that was what intrigued me, was that he would be the most capable character, like the fastest, the smartest, but he'd be trying and failing to be a person.
Yes.
Then you get into Pinocchio and all that stuff, which I love. So.
Yeah. And I think that's what's lovable. And I remember doing this similar kind of deep dive on, I mean, I've always loved computers. I've always loved robots, C-3PO and Data. And there are other ones that are more obscure, like Bicentennial Man I've referenced on the stream recently.
Such an underrated movie.
Such an underrated movie, but it is
so good.
And Robin Williams is like the king of that, like, I'm just on the edge of being really here, but I'm always a little bit on the outside looking in, you know? And so I really feel like Connor has that kind of human the wannabe human feeling, you know, the like I want what you've got. It's like a little bit of Ariel, you know, it's like you're on the other side, you have legs, and I would give anything to be like you. And your description
Yeah,
of that
and
is
there's a strange kind of because Robin Williams is such a you're so right. He can bring vulnerability to anything. Like
yeah,
even when he played the more sinister roles,
yeah,
you could see there was a human being in there, like a feeling human being, even when he
Yeah.
played villains.
right,
And it's true in Bicentennial Man that he does that very well. And you did it with Connor, which is even when he's about to do something very sinister, you can see there's a person in there in the early scenes. Like I
yeah,
think most people imagine Connor is either already deviant or on his way to deviancy quite early.
mm,
And even in the endings where you don't go deviant, it feels like he was deviant and chose to repress it
yeah,
Mm.
interesting,
because you play it like he was
yeah,
capable of it, which means he is.
sure,
So
sure, sure,
that
sure.
again, that nuance is something you brought to the part, and it elevates it a lot. I think makes it
Right.
much more enjoyable.
Thanks, man. I mean, I think that's an inherently human thing, right? Where we all have this feeling of like, I know me so well. I know who I am, but how do I live in that body? Can I live in that world? Can I, you know what I mean? Like, can I be my true self with the world? And I think that's why a lot of people relate with Connor, is that there's this sense of we got to travel around the world and go to lots of different places, and it meant different things to different people. For some people it had to do with gender identity and expression. For some people it had to do with sexuality. For some people it had to do with being autistic or on the spectrum. Some people it had to do with literally just feeling awkward in social situations like I do sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I mean,
the
so
disconnect between who you really are and who you are for other people.
yeah, the performance,
The
like
performance. Yeah.
and this is what's so interesting about Connor is when he walks into that bar to find Hank initially. There's that scene where you're scanning all the faces and you're looking for Hank. And in a way, Connor's the odd one out because he's an android in a no androids bar, and
Hmm.
he's trying to act in one version of the story, he's trying to act like someone who's drinking at a bar. Like you offer to buy Hank a drink,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and you try and like play that role. But the truth is, everybody who goes into a bar for the first time has to do that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Of course. I hate
Like
being
the
in a
first,
bar.
yeah,
I
no,
feel
but
like Connor at a bar.
because when we were sort of working on writing that scene, I remembered being taken to my first football game, which as an English person is like it's our equivalent of the Spartans killing a wolf and becoming a man. You know, you have to go to a football game. Your dad takes you to a football game, and I was sort of like 8, and I'm learning to get angry when the referee does something. Right?
Mm.
I'm like boo, and I'm like kind of looking around like, is this what you do? But everybody's always learning to be social.
Yeah.
Mm.
No one's born social.
How to
And so
become human.
Interesting.
exactly,
Mm,
exactly. So it really, an android trying to fit in with people is in the exact same position that a person is.
right.
And that came through most in Connor's story, I think, which is
Mm.
why I don't know if you guys are too modest to talk about it, but he's by far the most popular character. Like it's not close. I don't know if you've seen all the
Is
surveys and
he?
everything.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
he is. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
You're
we're a
very
little
coy.
biased.
I mean, he's my personal favorite.
No, we had all that because there's that survey at the end of the game, and we published some results back at the Steam launch, I think.
Mm,
Mm.
And it was high 60s, low 70s picked Connor out of 3 characters. So he's more than twice as popular as the other two. And I think that's a big part of why.
mm.
Because of that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
his difficulty is how do I perform
For
such
sure.
as to belong, which is
Mm.
the universal struggle
Right.
somehow.
It is a universal thing. And there are things, especially of Kara's storyline, that deeply connect with people, and Marcus's storyline where that resonates with them in a particular way. But there's something cool about Connor is that it does feel like a little bit like a universally applicable struggle, you know?
Yeah, and I think he's the character whose destiny you have the biggest influence over,
Right.
I think.
The most
Definitely.
spending.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Which goes back to this interactivity point of if Connor really belongs to the player in a way that maybe the other two don't quite as much because you can't alter them as much.
Mm.
Once you've finished with Connor as a player, he's a completely different creature to when you found him.
Right. Well, and while we're on this subject, I can't exclude the line, "I'm whatever you want me to be, Lieutenant."
Yeah, do you know that was go on.
I feel like when the game first came out, there were lots of things that Connor was to lots of people that I had never considered. It just wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Like I had this struggle to fit in, this consciousness of a robot. I read this Michio Kaku book called the Physics of the Future about how computers can't understand common sense or basically pattern recognition in the way that humans can. So a lot of Connor's personality comes from the struggle of pattern recognition and the struggle of common sense recognition, which I think has a lot to do with some of the things that resonate with people. But when people were making art and where people were sharing their fan stories or what it was, I had to, like you were saying, it's the death of the ego of it's not the character that I created anymore. You know, it's the character that everybody else played when they're in those shoes. And so you really do have to let go of your own great ideas and realize that the great ideas that all of the people that are playing the game have are far more important to them. We have a ton of questions, so I'm going to let Amelia jump it.
Carlita Moons asks, what was one of the most difficult scenes to write or record, and which was the funniest?
The funniest? God, that's a good question. By far the funniest moments in the game were the arguments between Connor and Hank.
Yeah.
I remember being particularly amused whenever Connor would threaten Hank. Hank would threaten Connor. So there's one in the bar scene we were discussing earlier where Connor says something's not according to protocol, and Hank says, "You know where you can stick your protocol?" And Connor asks, "No, where?" in this very blank. And I remember we were talking about that line, and we were going through the lines, and this was backstage. You probably won't remember this, Brian, but we were going through lines.
I remember everything, Adam.
You were like either asking a question or making a remark about the lines, and you got to that line and you said, "He's genuinely just asking, isn't he?" And I said, "Yeah." And you said, "I love it." Like he's genuinely, there's no kind of sarcasm.
He's not rebuttaling. He just does not get it.
Yeah.
And so to me, the inability of Hank to bully Connor in the way that he would have liked to in the early scenes was the funniest.
Yeah.
The hardest scenes to write. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. The hardest scenes to write were probably some of the Marcus scenes late in the game, because he's dealing with these very complex, big political topics, and you're trying to keep it emotional somehow. You're trying to find the emotional reality of what he's going through rather than turning it into pure politics. But you know, it was also very hard writing the scenes where Connor and Hank face off. I don't know if we're doing spoilers, no spoilers, but there's a version of the story
it's
where
been
Connor
6.5 years, bro. You can say
we can spoil things.
Yeah.
So when Connor has fatally disappointed Hank by becoming this machine, and you feel as a player, I think Hank was hoping Connor would do something that would save him, Hank. He sensed that like Connor had the power to somehow save him from this depression he's in, and he's not doing it. And Connor, Machine Connor, has no idea about any of that nuance.
Interesting.
He's just like, I'm here to kill Marcus, right?
Yeah.
I'm the Terminator. And so this broken guy thinking he'd found a surrogate son and didn't was very hard to write, because it was just so bleak. You know what I mean? But it was an ending that the player had engineered, so you had to do it in a way that would satisfy someone who had tried to make that happen.
Yeah.
That was hard.
You know, and now that you bring that up, that's, you know, rarely on stream have we gone more of the machine route. In general. It's been more about Deviant Connor and the funny bits, and you know, everybody wants us to always save Hank and keep that relationship strong because they have such an affinity for these characters. But I do remember also being on set with Clancy, and you know, a lot of what Clancy is asked to do, you know, Clancy Brown is one of the most incredible actors, I mean, certainly that I've ever had the experience of working with. and that much of what is needed from him from the very first scenes is like, bah, fuck off. He's just kind of like this grumbly thing, and it didn't require him to go to these places that are kind of like at a Shakespearean depth. And then it was the same day, I think, we did the Russian roulette scene, which we're going to play today.
Yeah.
And this rooftop scenes where either Hank can when Connor can get shot, so he's like cradling Connor dying there.
Right.
And it went from being like fun and games, Goofy was set backstage, me and Clancy being deviants and kind of like fucking with each other and like seeing how much we can like, have this kind of like sparring dynamic and then like squish it into the characters and go with it. But I just remember on set being like hit by like, oh my God, like there's a reason this guy is a legendary actor and has done so much stuff, like the depth of his capacity to do with, and
he was amazing.
Little slivers of scenes. I mean, anyway, Clancy, I know you're out there in the chat. Oh, Clancy Brown 04, there you are, Clancy.
He's definitely lurking for sure.
He's always on Twitch. Lurking. He's always on Twitch. Can't get him off Twitch.
No, but he was such a good performer. And what you mentioned about your dynamic backstage, for people in the chat, lots of good actors will do this. So they'll use the backstage and rehearsal times to get into the frame of mind required for the character, so that when they go on set, it's not just a cold right hand turn from I'm sitting drinking coffee to
right. We call it emotionally preparing for the moment before the scene.
Right. So Clancy, in scenes where he was drunk, would often act drunk backstage,
yes,
confusing the production team, right? Yes. Who would come to me and say, we think Clancy is maybe a bit too much to drink. And I said, no, he's completely sober. He's just trying to warm up to being a drunk. And with Clancy and Brian backstage, they completely nailed the old grizzly wolf, young pup nipping at his ear dynamic, where Brian would tease Clancy and Clancy would get snappy. But what's so nice about all that is that all of the positive, affectionate stuff is left completely unsaid. Completely unsaid. So that then when you have an emotional moment like the one you described, Brian, it's not just the moment, it's the confession that this has been going on underneath the surface the whole time. But neither of the characters has said it.
Yeah.
It's been left unsaid. And that's so much more powerful because the weight of the whole relationship up until now comes out in one moment, where you realize Clancy or Hank loves Connor.
Yeah.
Loves him like a son, and has gone from hating him to loving him, but didn't admit it at any point.
Yeah. When the mask falls.
Yeah, no, exactly.
We love you, Clancy. Amelia's got a whole queue.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of queues.
So sorry.
No, this is great. And Adam, I'm glad we're going into the depths of it, because really that's what people want to know about.
Yeah.
I mean, if we get to a point where we're like, okay, we got too many questions, we'll hit you with a speed round, but for right now,
we'll do quick fire.
Yeah.
Ronaf asks, what was something that you would have loved to add to the story if not for technical limitations?
I mean, the thing that jumps to mind immediately is you could make the game longer without technical limitations. I mean, the need to represent all the different branches as the game goes on, it becomes exponential. So
right.
There's two branches in scene one, but now you need 2 branches for each of those branches in scene 2. And by the time you get to the end of the game, you're dealing with thousands of variations of story.
Right.
So even adding an extra half an hour would be almost as much work as the previous 2 hours.
Yeah. To that point, do you think there's any scene that is so, or any instance that is so branched out that maybe only like 1% of players even saw it? Like, there's a point of diminishing return, right? It once it branches and branches and branches and branches, you have to spend the same time and energy filming, animating, and doing all the technical aspects of making something. And then you get to a point where you're making something that's like so unlikely that like it might not even be worth making because only like 5 people found it. What's the rarest thing, do you think, in the branching?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that's even coming up on the new project, is if you can create a kind of a heat map for the different branches, and we had them on Detroit, and you can see if 1,000 people play the game, 700 see this case, but only 5 see that case. So how much production spend do you commit to the case that only 5 people will see. Like we were saying with Connor and Hank, though, the fact that a case exists where Connor and Hank never get close, it means that the case where they do get close is more special. See, if you discovered that they had to get close in all cases, it wouldn't feel earned.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you need the platform to fall down to make the platformer fun, even if nobody ever falls down it, because the fact that they could have.
Uh-huh.
So you end up producing things because they make the other cases more meaningful.
Interesting, which I guess is true in life too. You have it's like the opportunity taken or the opportunity, let go.
So the roads you didn't take in life are very meaningful, and they make the roads you did take more meaningful.
Damn, dude, you should be a writer. You should write this stuff down.
I always really liked the cases where everything just goes terribly wrong. So there's like the case where there's one case where all the playable characters die before the end.
Yeah.
And
for a while, I don't think we've ever done that, have we?
I think we have.
Really?
I mean, Connor can die. Yeah.
Was it just North is just like having a snack?
Yeah, I think. Well, Kara dies, and then North takes over, and then I guess Connor just keeps getting killed, and so it's the Kamsky ending, right?
Yes, exactly. So after the Crossroads raid, the game's pretty much over. Like the revolution dies before it's really born. And in that case, you see, again, talking about making the other cases more special, you see what the human plan was with the androids. The human plan was, this is technology that's misbehaving. So imagine if self-driving cars started saying, hey, I don't want to drive anymore. I want to like read poetry. I want to, learn to dance, right? We'd be like, my car is broken, right? We wouldn't say, oh, my car has awakened to selfhood. We'd say, fix my car. Right? And that's how the humans feel about the androids.
Right.
And so without that revolution and without the gestures that Marcus might make or Connor might make, humanity has no way of contextualizing what's even going on with the androids. And so seeing that case is nice, I think, because you see what a big impact you have on the world if you do keep people alive. But not many people have seen it. Where the last stats I saw, it was like single-digit percentages of people.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I don't know if we've played all the way to that ending.
I don't know.
I just got a text on my phone that I need to go and sign for something outside, which I think people on stream might be able to deduce what it is. But I will be back in 5 minutes and leave you in Amelia and Adam's capable hands. Yeah.
All right. So everyone is asking. I see so many questions. What does RA9 mean? Does it stand for something? Why was it not specifically answered? Who is RA9, Adam?
Yeah, so I have had good advice on the beauty of an ambiguous answer. I wouldn't want to spoil anybody's fun. What I will say is that, as I think you and Brian were saying earlier, the game's now owned by the players to some extent. So what do we know about RA9? We know that some androids have this messianic belief that RA9 is going to save them.
Yeah.
And we know that some androids continue to believe that even in the face of absolute and certain death. And we know there's some cases where the androids are saved. But who saves them, what the mechanism is exactly. We were trying to depict honestly what it's like to have genuine faith. And part of the point of genuine faith is that you don't get the definitive evidentiary answer on whether you were right or not.
Yeah.
It stops being faith at that point. So whether people want to think RE9 was a real thing and who or what it was, to answer that would be to kind of spoil the whole idea of RA9, which is that you don't really get to know. You just decide whether to believe or not. Is that gobbledygook, Amelia?
Yeah.
It's gobbledygook, isn't it?
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Oh, okay.
Mystery. Let me pull up another question.
I see one. I see one.
What?
Can I do one?
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a chance we're getting Detroit 2? like maybe Kara's life after reaching the border, and that's by VXMQ7. If that makes a cool word, VXMQ7, I apologize because I just see letters.
I did the same
Um,
thing.
so I couldn't say either way on a Detroit one or two. But you mentioned the idea of what happens to Kara after she makes it to the other side, if she does.
Yeah.
I had always been interested in that question, especially if Luther's still around, because you could totally make a game about them trying to blend in society
Mm.
and keeping a secret.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and you know, how convincing are they as a family unit? They're kind
Mm.
of a strange family unit, but they might be in a nice tolerant place like Canada. They might be able to fit in without too many questions. I've also always wondered what happens to Connor if he ends up taking over the revolution.
Mm.
Like, what kind of leader would he make as compared with
Marcus.
Marcus? Because he's so capable,
Yeah.
but he's never had to be responsible for other people before. You know, he's such a lone wolf at the same time,
Yeah.
very self-sufficient. I would like to see all that.
Hmm. That kind of leads to another question of, do you think that Alice is a deviant? And if so, when did she deviate?
Yeah, to be honest, there was some debate about that in the writing group. My personal view is that she's not a deviant.
Hmm.
Well, put it this way. I find it more moving to imagine that she's not deviant.
Hmm.
Um, it her behavior seems very emotional, right? So let's
Yeah.
get that out of the way. You know, she loves Kara, she loves Luther, she has emotional needs, like in the Pirates Cove scene, which I think you might play today.
Yes.
She says to Luther, "Are you going to tuck me in?"
Hmm.
And Luther comes and tucks her in, right? So she's clearly gives the appearance of having emotional needs. Now, you could say she's a deviant and those are her real emotions, but you could also say that she's programmed to do those things because she's simulating being a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking that because if people we're talking about is
I got
Alice.
you.
Okay.
I've been listening, and I thought your answer on RA9 was excellent.
I did as I was told.
Because Alice, people would buy a child android because they want to have that experience of being a parent. So that would make sense that she would need to have that comfort, that she would need to feel like safe and held and protected and all of that stuff. So
yeah, and it goes to it got us into an interesting discussion about video games with the
Video
design
games?
team because that
I'm sorry,
small
I just have to
industry.
show people what happened. We got the PlayStation 5 Pro team. Okay.
Oh my, OMG.
It's just a River. Sorry.
How
to
did
interrupt
you how did you get one of those? You
I
must have
bought
been on a long waiting list. Okay.
I bought it the day the pre-orders were out, and actually we decided, Adam, that if we were going to upgrade our PlayStation, that it might be upsetting to our current PlayStation that it found out it was going to be replaced. So we've decided we're going to rehome our PlayStation 5, and we're giving it away as a gift on our stream. So
You've been influenced by the hostage scene.
yes,
You don't want your PlayStation to go crazy.
I do not want my PlayStation to go crazy. So we're gonna once we finish. So tomorrow we'll play Detroit Become Human on PlayStation 5 Pro, and I'm gonna be packing up and sending our current PlayStation to one of the people who are here on the stream.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Bit of a
Nice.
gift, you know.
What do people have to do? Do they have to enter a competition or something to get
What
the
a great
PlayStation?
question.
Wow, Adam.
So after each one of the chapters, we give away a token of gratitude, which is a prize that we have, and there's a limited number of these tokens, and there's only the only way to get them now is to win them on the channel. They come in this really cool like thing. We sign it. We let you know what number. There's only 248.
I think we ought to send one to Adam for
I
being
think
a
so
guest
too,
on our
yeah.
stream.
I was just looking at it with envious beady eyes.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of Connor's coin, of course.
Yeah,
It's
I was just thinking that.
a token of gratitude. And so everybody who wins a token of gratitude is entered to win the PlayStation at the end of the stream. So it's sort of a qualifying round and then a grand prize.
I like how the token is a token. That's the
Yeah.
kind of thing that amuses me greatly.
It's
Yeah,
cheeky,
that
you know?
statement of gratitude. I like that.
Okay, so we and through this in this playthrough, we have noticed that there is a magic number that has come up now twice. So maybe it's not super magic, but it is special. 28. Connor
Yeah.
discovers that Carlos Ortiz's android stabs
Stabs them.
him
Stamps.
28 times. And
Yeah.
then Kara, if she stays in the hotel with Alice, they're staying in room 28.
Mhm.
Why?
It's okay. So I'll say one thing. I'll say two things. Number
Say
one,
two
there are a
things
lot.
and then say 8 things and then say 28 things.
Yeah. There are a lot of Easter eggs in the game that have still not really been, because being very tragic, I went on all the wikis and stuff when the game first came out to see what was noticed and what wasn't. There are a lot of Easter eggs that have not been found in the game still. 28, the number 28 is in more places than the places you guys have found so far. And if you find them in some of the other places, I think you'll see what the significance of 28 is. If I tell you,
It
it will be
takes
a
all
lot
the
less
fun out.
fun.
It takes all the fun out.
If
That's
you,
amazing.
when you find them, you'll be like, oh, okay, that's why 28 keeps popping up.
Okay, how many other instances? Is
yeah,
it more than
when can we rest? You know, like at what point do we know we've seen as hold on. One second, Adam. I just dropped away. There we go. You're back.
Am I back? There's at least 5 instances of 28.
5.
At least
Okay, so we've
5.
found
But there's
2.
there's 2 in particular where when you find them, you'll be like, oh, that's why 28 keeps popping up.
Does anybody in the chat want to save us some time?
Does anybody have a guess in the chat?
I mean, I just saw RK200 and RK800.
Yeah. So what I will say, Mr. Parker, please. That's a great name. Mr. Parker, please. The serial number of androids is involved.
Okay.
Not in the way you've written it there.
Okay,
but
not
it is
that.
involved.
Okay.
So he's on the right track.
Wait, are we talking serial? Okay, now I'm just asking 2 questions.
Okay, similarly.
Yeah, because that's a model number. You're quite right to make the distinction. 200, 800 are model numbers, but serial numbers are involved.
Serial number
Model
would be
numbers are not
313248517,
which is a number you chose.
It is.
I remember
I chose.
it was like, wasn't it like? I remember it was birthday members of your family.
No, it's 313 is the area code for Detroit.
For Detroit, but then didn't you have your brother's birthday?
No, 248 is the area code where I grew up in Michigan.
Okay.
317 is my birthday, March 17th, and also the day that we filmed Connor's first scene was 317, right, which was his activation day, which is actually August 15th. But anyway, and then 51 was 5 members of my family, and 1 was for the first Connor. For like
so 5 members. Yeah, I'm getting confused because the 15th of August, which is the date of the hostage, is the day before my now wife's birthday. But I think that the hostage goes over midnight. In my mind, it did anyway.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then the 5th of November, which is the first day of the rest of the game, is my birthday.
Well, happy birthday, dude!
Yeah, I'm so old. So we've both worked vanity numbers into the project. But 28 is not a vanity number. 28 has a kind of significant, like, another way of thinking about it, because this is how it started actually, was Carlos's android is a deeply religious person, or android, right? He's got this very deep, zealous religious faith in a redeeming figure of RA9. And often, for people with messianic beliefs, they get into numerology. So he would stab Carlos a significant number of times in his mind. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course, Connor would notice it because Connor notices numbers everywhere. So that would be the beginning of the number hunt.
Hold on. Okay.
I really like what Leah, is it Leah Freitas said?
What did Leah Freitas say?
So she pointed out R is the 18th letter. A is the first letter. 18 plus 1 plus 9 equals 28. That's a very good observation. Very good observation. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna have to spend a significant amount of time looking for
Looking
other
for 28,
28s.
yeah.
I don't want to ruin your playthrough of the game by just turning it into 28
No,
Hunt.
No, I mean at this stage of the
the
game,
fact
dude.
that I noticed that it was a hotel room 28 was major.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No. You're very observant.
Fantastic.
Similarly, when we went into Carl's house, we noticed a chandelier. Upon looking at the chandelier, we saw not 4, but 6 mer babies. Why?
Okay.
Yeah, what the fuck's going on with the mer babies, dude?
Why?
I've got to be honest with you. I didn't even know that. There are babies on his chandelier.
Yeah.
Not only are they babies, but each of the okay, you know what a mermaid is,
Yeah,
of course.
I mean, one tail.
Yeah.
So that would
These are
be-
mer babies.
These are mer babies, but each leg is its own mermaid tail on babies, and there's 6 of them. Why are there 6 mer babies on the chandelier? If you don't have an answer to this question, the interview's over, and you go back where you
Okay,
came
it's
from.
in that case, it's symbolic. Obviously, it's symbolic of Carl's nurturing of Marcus. You know, Marcus is a baby in a sense, but Marcus is not quite human, not quite android. So the blend of human and fish in the image of the mer baby represents the blurring of human and android in the. No, I don't know. Some character artist has just done it.
I would
I
take
just-
that.
That's
Some
a
character artist has just done it, and it's weird. You get
some guy was sipping absinthe, you know,
Yeah,
at the top of the Eiffel
some
Tower. being
drunk
like,
French
do you know we
props
can put
maker has
mer
done it.
babies here?
I don't know. I think someone might be confused because you do get the babies with the horns. They sometimes call them tritons.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have them on the Trevi Fountain and other places, and they
Right.
do horns to herald the coming of Neptune or Poseidon. And then you do get mermen and merwomen. So maybe someone's just confused a triton with a mermaid. That would be my guess.
They're creepy.
In any case,
Yeah,
man,
that
they'll
sounds
haunt your
quite
dreams
creepy.
more than Zlatko will. They're
Oh, that's another question with the Zlatko scene. The fact that Kara is unable, even though she's deviated, the fact that she is unable to not go into Zlatko's, we don't have the choice to not go into his creep machine.
Yeah.
Why can she not listen to the player's
yeah, why doesn't
instincts
she just
or-
like punch him through the throat or something?
Yeah.
or just not? Because Alice is saying like, I don't feel, but we're
Yeah.
forced into it.
Yeah. I mean, one way of answering the question, I think, is so we obviously had to split the characters up. And what I mean by that is you'll play a Marcus scene and a Connor scene, then you'll come back to Kara.
Mm-hmm.
But when we looked at, we kind of wrote them as blocks. And so if you look at what's happened to Kara in the last few scenes, she is really desperate for shelter. Like we kind of bang that drum more than once.
That's
We ring that
yeah. I
bell
mean,
a few times, right?
there's literally a thing where she's asking. We were just in the hotel room, and they were like, "Could we do this? Could we do that?" And it reduces. You had 3 choices, now you have 2 choices, now you have 1 choice, and it shows she's literally out of options.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's nothing. So the kind of whole genesis for Kara was generally when you play a video game, you play the savior archetype who has all the answers and rescues everybody. And what would it be like to play a kind of outsider discourse in a game, like looking up at the revolution from underneath, playing the civilian rather than playing the soldier? So she is dealing with the complete obsessive desperation that being genuinely homeless puts you in. Like having genuinely nowhere to go and having a child completely dependent on you. The idea was that her story would feel very funneled in terms of what she will and won't accept, because she's been put in this situation where she has to accept huge risk to take care of Alice.
Right.
I must admit myself,
which is also similar. I mean, now that we're talking about it like this, you think about why would someone get on a boat with a baby and set themselves out to sea to try to get to another country, or walk across an entire desert while carrying a child and like leaving items behind them, because they just she has literally no other choice, even if it feels like a bad idea. She has to do it.
Wow.
And it was a very hard thing for us, because like if you read stories, I read an awful lot of stuff at the time about what happens, like the plight of genuinely homeless and destitute people. And they often make decisions which when you look at it from a third party perspective, you think, why would they put themselves in that situation? And the answer is almost always like the alternative was even worse, right? Like in the Zlatko case, the alternative is go back onto the street. I mean, she had the whole experience and on the run. She's finally been given a lead. Alice hasn't really had a safe place her whole life, but
Right.
certainly since they left Todd's house. And so the idea that this was a safe haven would have been so magnetic and so compelling. But you're quite right to ask, and it's possible that we should have made it a choice. You're always trying to find the meaningful branches, and would it have been very meaningful for players if they could have just said no to Zlatko?
Yeah.
Possibly it should have been a choice, but the idea that the player or Kara would do something unwise out of desperation, I was kind of okay with that.
And
Because
and what you're just saying there is huge when you look at someone who's experiencing homelessness and you think like, why don't they just get a job? It's like, that's so much more complicated than from your privileged position of having a place to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
You
like
know?
you don't have an address, which means you can't apply for anything, which
Right.
means you can't register for anything.
Right.
If you try and have a meeting with somebody, even an officer, like a court officer, to get some aid, you probably haven't had a bath or you haven't had access to a bath, so you're not looking great, so you're not taken credibly.
Right.
The assumption's made that you're doing this and that and the other. So the people that are on the absolute fringes of society like that make decisions all the time that from the center look incomprehensible. But on the other hand, we were making an interactive narrative, so
Right.
I think there's an argument that it should have been a choice.
Yeah, but I guess that I like sticking to the guns on this because I have been someone who in every playthrough of Zlatko has said like, I hate this. I don't even want to go to the door. This feels like a bad idea. I'd rather just like walk around at night for forever. But in a way, that is me separating myself from the role play because the experience of Kara is so horrible in that moment where she's left this terrible situation. She's in a terrible situation and she's only got terrible options that I create a distance between myself and the character I'm role playing as I play the game because she's not the hero. Like if you're, oh, it's Nate Drake, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna get on the Gatling gun or is he gonna go punch the dude in the face? You know, those both feel like heroic options, but Kara isn't a battle bot, you know.
No, she's not exactly. And moreover, as you're saying very eloquently, I think Kara is in a very reactive situation. So she makes one fateful decision, which is to become deviant and run away with Alice. And after that, she has to react to circumstances for almost the whole game, right? And again, you kind of traditional video game storytelling logic should be that the protagonist takes charge of situations through their actions. And your instinct as a player is always to do that. You know, the minute you give someone a controller and a character, they assume there's something they need to fix and that they can fix it. It's just part of the convention of video games. And where Kara was interesting, I think, was we were asking ourselves like, how can we kind of, I don't want to say frustrate, but perhaps surprise the player's expectations in every scene. And in the case of Zlatko, in most video games, you would kill Zlatko yourself, right? You would vanquish him somehow.
Right.
So yeah, Kara was very challenging in that way because on the one hand, you wanted to give players meaningful decisions, and on the other hand, you wanted to show that people in that situation, part of the desperation of it, is that they can't make the sorts of decisions you and I would make.
Right.
They don't have those options. So.
Dude, I'm really glad that we talked about that question because that's been something that's been itching at me for years. I think with respect to time and your time and the fact that you're across the pond and it's only getting colder in your place and I can see your lips are turning blue we should maybe we do the next round of questions like speed run style.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. I'll go. So I'll talk less. I promise. I'll talk.
Talk less.
Smile more.
Just do the Ross thing.
Simmer down.
Okay, Cat the Fast Turtle asked. Oh, we discovered when we were looking at Hank's desk that he had discovered the red ice was being sold on a
or freighted in on a giant ship. In the harbor.
Is that Jericho? Oh, Jericho.
if you look around Jericho, you'll have your answer.
It is.
Okay. Okay. I love you,
All
Adam.
right.
I love you. Let's see. Let's see.
What's your favorite video game?
Yeah. To play.
So there's an RPG, Planescape Torment, written by Chris Avallone.
Planescape Torment?
Probably my favorite game. But my favorite game that I think you guys should play.
Okay.
No, I'm Not a Human. Have you seen this game?
No.
Dude.
Dude.
Don't read anything about it.
Okay.
Don't watch any videos. Just play it. It's terrifying.
Okay. Thank you.
And the team that did it, I don't know them personally, but they're like indie developers, and they've made, it's only a demo, but it's a masterpiece. It's getting some real popularity.
I love it. We'll put it on the list.
Okay.
Go ahead. Oh, here's a question that I think is was asked in a bunch of different forums. If I'm someone who wants to get involved in video games or want to be a writer for video games, or even just a creative person struggling with the resistance of like writer's block, or like I want to be more creative, but the creativity's not coming out. We've asked this question of a bunch of different folks with different disciplines, but what do you think is a good tool or method or process for someone to bring their writing up and out? If you experience writer's block, what do you do? Or if you want to like activate your writing self, how do we do that? Like as a creative person?
So for me, I had a bit of a breakthrough reading Chomsky, Noam Chomsky and the Linguists. And what they talk about is that writing is essentially speech, transcribed speech. So when you're writing, you're talking. And what I do is I talk to myself about the scene. So, I'm walking around saying, oh, I don't know what should happen. I would like Connor to come across as likable, but also as a bit sinister. And then as I talk and talk and talk and talk, in the end, when you're trying to explain something verbally, you'll dance around it and then you'll get to the meat of it.
I like
Is
that.
my internet going crazy?
Or you're good. Fenrir.
Is he chewing the wire again? Yeah. And then I thought you were asking about how to get into the industry.
Yeah, or so just, yeah, like, I mean, I know it's a big question with a lot of different answers, but like, what's a good starting place? You know, if I just like, if I dream to work in video games, but I've not yet done that, what can I do?
So for me personally, I wrote to David and just said I wanted to try video games, but I had a TV background. So let's imagine I had no background. The thing I would do today is I would make a demo myself. Like I'd get one of the game engines. It doesn't have to be Unreal or Unity. There are other free ones, but I'd get something. And I'd learn enough to at least make a text-based game or some other type of game. And I'd actually make my own thing because I would find out, do I really enjoy doing this? Or do I just think I like the idea?
Right.
But then B, I'm already in the top. Like I'm someone I've read thousands of applications for writers between Quantic and the new company. And less than 1% of them have something playable. They often have a writing sample. But if you had your little demo that you had made, even if it was just like a few minutes long,
right,
I'll know what your tone is, what you like as a writer, what your style is like, what things you find interesting. And I'll remember that much better than I'll remember a CV.
Yeah, that's good advice, man.
Yeah, you'll be one of the few writers that has a bit of an understanding of how the game's actually made, because a lot of writers don't.
Right.
Sorry, I know this is the quick round.
Yeah,
but a lot of writers just do Word documents and then they think the rest happens by magic.
Right. And it's very much a team sport to make a game.
Good advice.
Out of the corner of my eye, I saw one of our moderators, Renef, mention a website called Twine. Are you familiar with this one? I've used it myself a little bit. There's some other similar ones, but if you're interested in writing a branching narrative, it's a great way to kind of block out. It looks like a workflow, a little bit like the flow chart in Detroit Become Human, but where you can have instances, different cases, and kind of have a streamline your train of thought. A popular question that's in chat, and I don't know if you have an answer to this, but people are asking about Cole's mother. What's happened to Hank's wife, or the mother of his son Cole? Do we have a canonic answer for that, or do you want to just say we don't know?
Yeah, we had a canonic answer, and the clue was going to be on Hank's desk, but it was taken out due to a lack of space. I don't know if I should really regale the whole tale to you now, because it's ended up not being in the game anyway. But in essence, we figured that there had been a tragic end, and that she had felt she couldn't go on without her son, basically. Which I think helps you understand Hank even more, because he really feels abandoned, Hank, I think.
Yeah.
I always felt at the core of Hank is a guy who feels like everyone's just left him, and he's given up on ever being close to anyone ever again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to bring the mood down.
No, not at all. People were chanting that question over and over, so there's the answer to it. Adam, I wonder if there's anything else that you have burning in your heart that you want to share before we jump into more game. Amelia and I got a little Detroit Become Human to play today, so we should probably switch gears. But anything on your brain?
You guys have heard me say this before, but I've never said it to you on stream. Thanks to both of you for the huge contributions you made to the game, because it elevated the thing way better than it would have been. You were both incredible in it, and I'm really looking forward to working with you both again, because it was some of the highlights of my professional life.
Yo, me too, Adam. Same. I'm really, really excited. I think this is a good time to remind anybody who might have joined after we announced this earlier, but Adam has just begun his own game development studio, Republic Games.
Yes.
We have at the top of the chat the link if you would like to join. It's republicgames.co.uk, and you can get on the mailing list. You'll be the first people to receive the press release that is coming out very, very soon. Like, we're talking like sometime this month, I think, like moments away. And he did share that they are going to be hiring more people to work at Republic Games, working remotely. So if you have experience, or you want to pull what Adam did and say, ding dong, hey, it's me, I want to be there. Adam is saying, like, that's how he got his start in gaming, is by putting himself out there. So Adam is opening the door to all of you who want to get involved, whether it's being a player of the game, if you want to get involved in the development of the game. But all three of us are going to be working together on this project.
Dream come true.
A literal dream come true for 10 years in the making. And I am so excited for you to get to share more information about Republic Games, my dude. Congratulations.
Me too. Me too. Thank you, guys. And just before I leave you, because I know I've stolen too much of your time already.
Not at all.
Slytherin Illusions. In your chat, my favorite question today. Can I just do 2 seconds answer this one?
Of course.
This is a great question. Why does Connor double over when Gavin punches him?
I've been asked this question.
Yeah, I can only assume it's so Connor or any android isn't too overpowered against humans. So I like that interpretation, Slytherin Illusions. But if you think about it, there are other contexts where androids get punched and don't double over. So he didn't need to double over. He also explicitly states in a few cases that he doesn't breathe in the way that we breathe. So he doesn't have a diaphragm. So this whole like liver shot reaction. To me, Connor has all kinds of behaviors when he's in the police station that are about making him less threatening to human beings. So he's trying to blend in with them. Like in a few places, he uses contractions. He says can't instead of cannot.
Right.
Although he wouldn't say that in other places. When he's interrogating Carlos's android, he says whom about RA9's worship and stuff, which was a change you made, Brian.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yes,
story.
I do, yeah.
Whereas in other places he'll say who. So the way I considered it was that the doubling over was Connor trying to signal to the other humans in the room, hey, I'm like one of you guys. But what is interesting is it means if he'd wanted to, he could have just looked Gavin dead in the face. And he chose not to do it.
Yes.
And that to me is early Connor.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I just saw that
question.
question.
He's reading the room. Yeah, well, yeah. In any case, I think that's cool. I mean, because you also with that ultra alpha energy coming off of Gavin, I'm speaking this as someone who is 6 feet tall, who does have a lot of like kind of like I walk into a room and in general people are like, oh, okay, this guy's here, and I have learned in my life that there are some people who need to be the alpha. They cannot be in the, and I don't mind dropping down a peg so that they still feel like
they get what they need.
They're okay. There you are. You're Gavin Reed. You're Kamsky. Because if I compete with them for that spot, they can't deal. Then the whole and so that's kind of my interpretation of it. That it's almost like a bow out to like
because Connor has
adapting to human unpredictability is one of my features.
Yeah, he's figured out the psychological foible of Gavin, which exactly as you said is Gavin needs to feel like he's top dog in the pack.
Right.
Because Connor actually is the top dog, let's face it. He's the strongest, he's the fastest, he's the most intelligent, right? He can do things nobody else in that room can do.
He's goofy looking, he's got a weird voice.
But he's smart enough and confident enough and skilled enough that he's willing to undergo a kind of ego death. To get back to ego death in order to try and keep Gavin happy because he's trying to integrate. But that's what I love so much about the final confrontation with Gavin.
Yes.
Where you can choose to say, okay, I've had enough of amusing this guy. And that's where you get the whole bromance line.
Right.
Because to me, it's so undermining to Gavin with his whole energy. Being accused of being in a bromance would be kind of fatally undermining for Gavin, and Connor understands that, and Connor knew that from the very beginning. And when you put that with the doubling over, you see the difference between like appeasing and then just thinking, okay, I've had enough of this.
Yeah. This reminds me of a quote that was in a friend in high school's AIM Messenger away message that really stuck with me. But
we're going back.
We're going way back, and I think this was probably like in result to a breakup or some sort of like high school drama thing. But I've stuck
the MySpace update.
Yeah, the MySpace update. Yeah, you got dropped from the friend
status.
But the quote was, a person of integrity expects to be believed, and when they're not, they let time prove them right. And I think that there is a very higher consciousness level of you can just know that you're right. And you can just wait until it comes to pass.
There was a line that Connor had that we took out, but it was in one of the conversations with Amanda where Connor was going to ask Amanda, why do human beings keep trying to demonstrate how clever they are or how funny they are? Don't they just know how funny they are? And that doesn't that knowledge suffice? And Amanda's explanation was going to be human beings always act as if they're on stage, and they need the audience to believe that they're something that they think they're not. And she said that's the difference with you, is you know what you are, whereas they don't know what you are. And it was supposed to be like a kind of inversion of what you'd think, because he's the Pinocchio and they're the human beings. But we took it out because those dialogues with Amanda, as you've probably noticed, are already too long.
Right.
There's a lot of chit chat with Amanda. We got very philosophical on some of those.
Well, Adam,
yeah, I think that's right.
Getting philosophical with you has been one of my favorite things, dude. Thank you.
I'm going to vanish.
Thank you so much. Everybody, can you please join me in saying thank you to Adam for being here on stream with us? And,
thank you, Brian and Amelia, for having me.
Of
thank
course,
you, chat.
man. And one more time, everybody in the chat, get yourself to republicgames.co.uk, and you will be the first people on the planet to know more about Adam's upcoming game that all three of us are very excited to be working on together to probably rock your socks.
Yeah. Set the world on fire, and to this community first. So
that's right. You all are right in the middle. Thank you so much, Adam. We love you dearly, dude.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I shall see you soon, I hope.
Yeah, man. We'll talk soon. Peace.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Oh, my dudes. How lucky are we? That was like amazing. I feel really good right now.
He is such a gem
I really genuinely
really-
was so grateful for Adam joining us today. He is, I'm going to say this again, without Adam, there would not be Detroit Become Human as you know it. He is beyond integral to the fact that all of the things that happened to make that game happen. Is a gigantic team of people that worked on the game. Hundreds of people from around the world collaborated to make Detroit Become Human. But I'm going to say that one of the people that could not have been removed from that equation and have it still be the game that you all got to play is Adam. So the fact that he's got his own game development studio going right now, and the fact that we're all going to be working together on another game with more information coming out soon is like
a dream.
Is like literally a dream come true. As 10 years in the making. So thank you everybody for being here and for your very thoughtful questions. And if we missed any questions that you wanted to ask Adam, you have his account on X is !Adam in the chat. I'm sure he would be willing to answer questions. I've seen him answering things about even just like writing questions, like philosophical questions. I mean, you can talk to Adam, so he's accessible to you on there.